So more or less we have looked at the techniques which we will frequently encounter in thermal sciences, that is single variable and multivariable, both constrained and unconstrained. But in the next 2 weeks we look at some special techniques which generally are either not frequently used in thermal sciences or are not called or cannot be called as classical optimization techniques or non-traditional optimization techniques, but we do not have much time. So we have 3 classes this week and 3 next week, out of which 1 class will go for the assignment test. So in 5 classes let us see what best we can do, but linear programming is a very important technique because operations research people, management people in sociology and management science and all these fields, it is extensively used. There are also some problems in engineering which can be eminently handled using linear programming. So today's class we look at linear programming. So it is also called LP. An LP problem is one in which both the constraints and the objective function can be written as linear combinations of the variables. I come again, a linear programming model or a LP problem is one in which both the objective function and all the constraints can be written as linear combinations of the variables. So you will not encounter sin hx, e to the power of mx, e to the power of x1, tan hyperbolic, all those things will not come. It will be simply represented as linear combination of the variables in which both the objective function is a very colloquial terminology, can be represented as, okay, can be written as obviously now you can see why it is not frequently used in fluid mechanics, heat transfer and thermal sciences, because there are hardly situations, there is hardly any situation in which both the objective function and all the constraints can be written as a linear combinations of variables. But if there arises a situation in which it is so, then there is a body of knowledge which is available which you can use instead of always resorting to Lagrange multiplier method or penalty function method and so on. So what do you think would be the origin of this? A lot of people are taking management minors, so you should be able to answer this question. When did it originate, the use of LP? World War II obviously. So first used in World War II. What should have been the possible problem for which LP must have been used? Optimal allocation of men, optimal allocation of ammunition, okay. So optimal allocation of aircrafts, optimal allocation of all this artillery, this thing, and okay. So that you maximization of your benefit, I mean strategy, okay, to defeat the enemy and all that. So obviously this was first tried with the Allied forces, right. So it originated in United Kingdom or something, so in the 30s and 40s. So subsequently OR is a very mature field. There are departments of industrial engineering, operations research, you have financial engineering, financial mathematics, engineering, finance, whatever. So it is highly developed, okay. It is one of the well studied or over studied subjects in management science. So first used in World War II. So basically it started out with the military use, also used in sociology, so limited application in engineering, okay. Can I give some examples in mechanical engineering where you get a linear combination of optimal allocation of jobs to a special purpose machine. So you have a CNC lathe, you can do many things, okay, turning, boring, milling, shape, whatever, shaping, whatever, and then there are costs and time, labor associated with each of this. So there is a total machine availability. Now there is a problem, optimal allocation of jobs for a special machine. Also we also constantly do this linear programming in our mind, right. The objective may be different for different people. Maximize the pleasure subject to the condition that CGPA should not fall below 7.5. That could be the when CGPA is written as a constraint. Maximize CGPA subjected to minimum pleasure. There are several ways you can pose this. Maximizing both is not possible, they are orthogonal to each other. Okay, so constantly we are doing dynamic programming, all sort of non-linear programming, everything is going on. Okay, so sometimes when it gets vigorous only we resort to other means. Okay, so by nature everybody wants to optimize, right? You want to keep optimizing all the time, right? So the objective function will be different. Optimum allocation of jobs for a machine, optimal product mix in a petroleum refinery, right? Are you getting the point? You can sell diesel, petrol, kerosene or naphtha, all those things, and each will come with a, there is a cost of refining, there is a profit. Okay, whether you want to, everything should be petrol, everything should be kerosene, everything should be diesel, or everything should be paraffin and all that. Okay, optimal product mix, we call it as product mix, right. So some engineering applications. In operations management, operations research, they will always talk about this, and they will, those people have developed all the genetic algorithms and all the evolutionary optimization techniques to solve those problems. Okay, where it is impossible for them to get derivatives and second derivative and evaluate the Hessian and so on, but they are able to evaluate the objective function for any combination of the variables. Are you getting the point? Whereas when we are approaching from approaching it from a thermal science perspective, finally we get some functions. It may not be simple functions, we may get sin h, cos h, x, e to the power of mx, whatever. Generally it is possible for us to take first derivative, second derivative and all that, but in OR and other fields it is very difficult. But you tell them x1 to, if x1, x2, x3, x4 or so on, then you can get y. But do not tell me what is dou y by dou x1 dou squared by dou squared y by dou x1 dou x2, that is not possible. So they have tried to wean off or wean away from calculus based optimization. So non-traditional optimization, they have also advanced the field. Okay, so this is a broad preamble or a prelude or study of linear programming. So the formulation of an LP problem. So it could be minimize cost or maximize profit, maximize or minimize. Y is equal to there is no problem as far as this thing is concerned, but you are now writing it as a linear combination of the variables x1 to xn are the independent variables. Okay, x1 to xn could represent the product your company manufactures, each one could be different. For example, a furniture company, x1 and x2 could be table and chair. For a petroleum refinery, it could be a petrol, x1 could be petrol, x2 could be diesel and so on. Okay, the quantity, C1 could be the profit associated with this, or C1 could be the cost of refining. Your objective function could be the minimization of cost or maximization of profit, of course subject to there are psi 1 is equal to shall we use it as A11 is greater than or equal to some R1. Okay. Now some books will say that can be replaced as equality, and then you add additional variables, slack variables and so on. I do not want to introduce slack variables at an early stage. It is possible to write it as an equality also by introducing some artificial variables or slack variables which represent something else. Okay. So psi 1 like that, you can have psi j is equal to aj1 x1 plus greater than Rj. Okay. Now x1, x2 to xj are all physical variables. Okay. Therefore, we have to assign, or we have to write out extra constraint that none of these variables can become negative. These are called non-negativity constraints. Okay. Are you getting the point? Because they are physical variables, they cannot take on negative values. Okay. Now this is how a standard you can write one, you can put 1, 2, whatever. Now this has to be solved. If you solve this, you will get the optimal values of x1 to xn at which your y is maximized. If you substitute these values, C1 to Cn and A11, A12, all these are coefficients which are known upfront, that is which are known before you start working on the problem. Once you get the optimal values of x1 to xn, you can substitute into your expression for y and get the value of y star or y plus or y max or y min, right. Okay. Now you feel that you can use Lagrange multiplier method to solve this, right. Equality you can change, you can use the Kuhn-Tucker conditions, right. But what is the catch? If it was possible to solve a problem of this nature using Lagrange multiplier method, first of all special techniques to develop LP would not have been developed. So there are some key differences between this problem and a Lagrange multiplier formulation, a problem which can be solved using Lagrange multipliers. Can you identify? Please remember, even though we handle inequalities, we handle 1 or 2 inequalities, most were equalities. If everything was an inequality, then life becomes miserable. Kuhn-Tucker condition, then you will go mad. So basically, essentially the Lagrange multiplier method is used for solving problems in which you have equality constraints, but a few, one or a few inequality constraints can be handled. This does not matter, it is basically designed for handling inequality constraints. Okay. So key differences. Key differences with respect to the Lagrange multiplier method. In LP, almost all constraints are inequalities. Again, J can be very important. J can be greater than n because it is only an inequality, and inequality only reduces your feasible domain. It prohibits certain solutions, that is all. Equality constraint has to be exactly obeyed. Okay, that is why an equality constraint is a lot more restrictive than the inequality constraint. Okay. Therefore, in the Lagrange multiplier method, if m was the number of equality constraints and n was the number of variables, m has to be necessarily less than equal to n. Here j can be greater than equal to. So, and of course Lagrange multiplier method has other, though it has these disadvantages, it has other advantages, that all this it does not have to be such a simple and silly function like this. Any complicated nonlinear function it can handle. Okay. Why are these LP models so why is everybody so fond of linear programming? Because just like we have COMSOL, Fluent, CFX and so on, the industrial engineering community has developed very advanced software and commercial software available for solving large LP problems, and business people use it because they are always interested in what is the profit and this thing, and it is used by a lot of analysts and so on. Therefore, the LP is widely patronized. Also, they are always looking at if the cost of this thing changes, if the price of this thing changes, if the demand goes up, if the demand goes down, what is the sensitivity of my final solution? They are always interested in such kinds of things. Okay, stability is not their forte. They are always expecting something to go up, something to go down. Sensitivity analysis can be eminently and easily handled using LP. Okay, so largely because of these two reasons, that commercial software is available, sometimes freely downloadable software is available for handling large linear programming problems. Sensitivity analysis, which is also called as post optimality analysis. Okay, the Lagrange multiplier is like a sensitivity coefficient, right? So post optimality analysis can be easily done using LP models. Therefore, LP models are very useful. Even if there is a slight degree of nonlinearity, if a variable comes as x3 to the power of 2, some people will just put it as x3 squared is equal to x24 or something and keep working with x24. So, a slight degree of nonlinearity can be handled using the LP method. Of course, if all the things are highly nonlinear, it is difficult. Little bit of nonlinearity it can handle. Okay, because of lack of time, we will be looking at only a 2 variable problem, and I do not want to get into the simplex method and all this. So, we will do the graphical method of solution. If you recall, in one of the earliest lectures on formulation of optimization problems, we did take up a problem. We did not solve it though. We just plotted the constraints. We identified how to formulate an optimization problem. I will give you a different example. So, we learned the graphical method of solution of to a linear programming problem through an example. So, this will be problem number 39. So, though the graphical method has limited scope in the sense that only 2 variable problem can be handled, all the features of an LP problem can be very nicely and very elegantly brought out by looking at the graphical solution itself. Therefore, we will take up a problem that concerns which can be handled using the graphical method. Problem number 39, a furniture company can make tables or chairs or both. A furniture company can make tables or chairs or both. The amount of wood required for making one table, is 30 kilogram, 30. The amount of wood required for making one table is 30 kilogram, while that for a chair is 18 kilogram. The total quantity of wood available is 300 kg. Okay. The labor required for making a table is 20 man hours. The labor required for making a table is 20 man hours. While that required for a chair is 8 man hours. So, the labor for table 20, for chair 8 man hours. The total number of man hours available is 160. The the total number of man hours available is 160. The profit from a table is rupees 1500. The profit from a table is rupees 1500. It is not the selling price, it is the profit. The profit from a table is rupees 1500 and that from a chair is rupees 800. Determine the optimal product mix of the company. Determine the optimal product mix of the company using the graphical method of LP. Determine the optimal product mix of the company using the graphical method of LP. Determine the optimal product mix of the company using the graphical method of LP. So this 300 kg and 160, it could be per shift basis, per day basis. Don't think how can a company survive if it makes only 10 chairs or 20 chairs. It could be on hourly basis or a daily basis or whatever, right. So volunteers, yo, take one sheet each. I will start formulating this on the board. So you have to plot the constraints, x1 number of tables, x2 number of chairs, right. Before you begin to use the graph sheet, just plot, formulate the problem, okay. Maximize profit subject to, and try to see if you can simplify the constraints. So maximize y equal to, let x1 be the number of tables. So y will be, yeah, please look at the board and tell me, maximize y equal to, yeah,
x plus 800
x1 x2.
then you have to put all the subject to. x1 less than or equal to, right. You can still have some wood left. You can't if you make so many tables and chairs, you can't be sure that exactly all the 300 kgs will be satisfied, but it cannot be more than 300. It can be equal to or less than, right. That is why you have a less than equal to constraint. Is everybody able to follow this? It is not like satisfying the momentum balance or energy balance, or it is not like the continuity equation which has to be exactly satisfied. Mass flowing out must be equal to mass flowing in. It is not like that. At the end of the day, some residual wood can be there. That is wastage. There will be wastage, no, anyway. I mean, when you finally, in this problem it may not be, but generally there will be a, so generally every constraint there will be some surplus, that is called slackness, okay. So this is what constraint? Material constraint, no? Then yeah, labor, what is that, 20 x1, so this is the constraint on the labor. So I will say to make it easier, I will say I want to make it easier for me. Twenty x1 plus 8 x2 is it? So therefore, Okay, I have just simplified a little bit. So this is the formulation for this problem. Please do not forget the non-negativity constraints, right. Now you have to get the values of x1 and x2. So what you have to do is graphical method, you have to first plot the various constraints and identify the feasible region. Feasible region is the region in which the optimum can lie. Outside the feasible solution, the optimum cannot lie, because first of all it is not a feasible solution at all. So what is a feasible solution? A feasible solution is one which satisfies all the constraints, right. So an optimal solution has to be a feasible solution first. First you should have a working pump, and then you will decide on whether the pump is optimum or not. Okay. So x1 and x2, just plot. Has everybody got the sheet? Has everybody got the sheet? Graph sheet. So when x2 is this fellow we want up to 20, right. x2 we want up to 20, yeah, no need, but 20 is better. Okay. For each of the constraints you have to get 2 points, okay, because you want to fit a straight line. Okay. So 1. So let us plot the constraint 2. So that is difficult now. Okay. I got x1 only up to 30, does not matter. Let me plot the constraint 3 first. x1 is 8, right. Then x2 is 20. You had a long scale, no? So this is a multi-objective optimization. Today finally I will draw a straight line. Huh? Okay, that is, what is this fellow, 5x1 equal to 40, right. That line is 5x1 plus 2x2 equal to 40. So we want 5x1 plus 2x2 less than or equal to 40. So you have to put the direction like this. Please put the direction like this. Okay, that is the feasible region. And then x1 must be greater than 0. Please look at the board, x1 must be greater than 0. So this is the feasible region. x2 must be greater than 0. This is the feasible region. Okay. So the solution can first be only in the first quadrant, and then all these constraints will reduce the feasible region, right. And then finally you will identify the feasible region which satisfies all the constraints. Now the second one is what do you get, x2 equal to, when x1 is 0, constraint number 2, x1 is 0, 16 point, okay, and then one more point you tell me. 10 I do not have, so
Sir.
10 I do not have, so some other point, 4 and 4 and
4 and 10.
4 and 10, right.
4 and 10. Yeah.
shall use different color now. Okay, now so this one is I want here. Okay, so let me manage. Yeah, I have to get this, no? Okay. So the feasible region is one which is indicated in within the checks. Okay, now is there some other color, it will be good. Let us use the green. So the feasible region is okay, that is a feasible region. So any point within the feasible region will satisfy all the constraints, but each point will result in a different value of y. So first we have identified the region in which y max is expected to lie, because y max has to be first a feasible solution. Agreed? Now this getting the y max is not so straightforward. What do you do now? You have to assume some value of y, draw the straight line and keep moving the straight line till it just moves out of the feasible region. So we find out when it is just moving out of the feasible region, the point or the points it cuts in the feasible region is or are the optimal solutions to this problem, right. Now let us plot this. Let us take one iso-objective line, y equal to 1500. So let us say shall we say 6000 or 8000? Huh? 12,000 is not the answer, no? 6,000 cannot be the answer. What is the suppose? We will put 8,000. We should not put 14,000. Huh? Too small. Okay. The 1,500 cannot be divided.
12,000.
12,000. Okay, 12,000. I will put 12,000. Okay. Now find out the points of this. Right. So this is my y. So x1 is 8. 8. x2 is 15, right. Okay, whatever I have indicated with dashed line is basically y is equal to rupees 12,000. So this dashed line is the y equal to 12,000 rupees line. That means any point on that line will give combinations of x1 and x2 which will result in a profit of 12,000. Okay, so which means if 12,000 line is here, if I move here, you have to draw a series of parallel lines. If I move here, I will get combinations of x1 and x2 which are having a profit equal to maybe 10,000, 9,000, 8,000 like this. You can start with here 0, 0, not do anything at all, have all the material and all the labor with you, that is a trivial solution. Okay, so you can also have like this, you can keep on having like this and you can get out of the room and all that, then you can have an unbounded optimum. You will put x1 equal to infinity, x2 is equal to infinity, y is equal to infinity, great. But then what does it tell? It says Buddhu, you have not put the constraints because all economics departments have to be closed if that is the case. Life is not about maximizing profits, are the constraints are always chasing you. Okay, so within the feasible region we have to find this solution. Now there is a theorem which says that if you once you identify the feasible region, though there are infinite number of feasible solutions, the corners of the polygon which are formed by the coordinate axis as well as the various constraints qualify as a candidate for the optimum solution. That this is a property which can be proved in your OR. If you take a OR course, OR1 or OR2, they will prove this, which means it is easy for us. We have to get the value of y only at this 1, 2, 3 and 4 points. Anyway here it is silly, x1 is equal to 0, x equal to 0. So now here you have to take a call on making all chairs, here it is making all tables, here it is making tables and chairs. Each of this will result in a value of y, and now tell me which is the maximum value of y. Okay, so we will say candidates for optima. The other one is 20 and no, what is this? What is this?
16.67.
16.67 and we will make it 16. 17 will violate, then 8,
8, 0.
4, 10.
10.
Okay, 0, 12,800, how much is it? Huh? So this is your solution. Okay. However, if it so happens that the iso-objective line which is like 1500 x1, watch carefully, if the iso-objective line which happens to be 1500 x1 plus 800 x2 is such that it becomes parallel to one of the constraints, then instead of these two lines intersecting at a point, this whole thing will be an optimal line instead of an optimal point. So these are all alternate optima. right, any point on this line will be an alternate optimum which will give the same value of y. Suppose we are now, suppose we look at a solution where y is equal to infinity, x1 is equal to infinity, x2 is equal to infinity, that is called an unbounded optimum. It's a warning, it tells you that you have missed one or more constraints because it is unphysical. Okay, so this is how you solve a two variable problem using the LP problem, using the graphical method. This can also be solved by introducing what are called slack variables. The slack variables are introduced to convert the inequalities to equalities, okay, subject to what is the first constraint, 30x1 is it, 3x1 plus, now I will retain the original constraint itself, 30x1 plus the other one was
plus 8x2
plus
8x2.
So S1 S2 are called slack variables. They have to be positive. Why should they be positive? Because after the optimal solution is determined, S1 tells you the amount of wood which is available, which has been wasted in the process. S2 is the number of man hours which are still available. They cannot become negative. They can at best be 0, but they have to be non-negative. Are you getting the point? Suppose you have greater than or equal to constraint, you can put minus of S1 minus of S2. The funda is they are not unrestricted in sign, they are restricted in sign. Okay, they have to be positive. Now already we had two constraints, we had two variables. Now we converted the two variable problem into four variable problem, and we shot ourselves in the foot. How do we solve this? I mean, we cannot, it is with two equations and four unknowns, we cannot hope to solve this. However, there is a way out. We make two variables 0 at a time. You can make two variables 0 at a time and find out the resulting y, because it is, since S1 S2 are also not unrestricted in sign, they have to be only positive. So it is like it is equivalent to representing x1 x2 s1 and s2 on a 4-dimensional plane and then trying to find out the feasible region. So the same funda of this iso-objective line cutting this polygon at one of the points emerging as the optimal solution, that funda holds good here also, right. So if you do that, how many combinations are there? If two are made 0 at a time, how many combinations are there? 6, okay. So if n total number of variables, this total number of variables including the slack variables. What is n now? x1 x2 s1 s2, n factorial will be, so how much is it? Okay, so we need to evaluate 6 combinations. It's a silly solution, we do not have to worry about that. Yeah, now please solve the system quick, you just take 2 or 3 minutes. What was that, the other one? 12, huh?
20.
Ah. Okay, now x1 equal to 0. So what is x2?
16. 16. 16.
16, 300 divided by 18 is not exactly 16. How much do you get? Okay, therefore x2 is 16, therefore s2 s1 cannot be 0, so s1 will be just 0.6 kg. How many of you didn't follow what we are doing? In the first case I am putting x1 equal to 0 and s1 equal to 0, that means 18x2 is equal to 300. x2 is 300 by 18, but you cannot have 18.67 tables or 16.4 chairs, so I am rounding off to the lowest. If you do that, automatically s1 has to become positive, otherwise the 300 will be violated. Yeah, so you will have 12 kgs left. Okay, now what is the y? Straight away 12,800? No, 12,800. x2 equal to 0, same problem. x2 is equal to 0, s1 is equal to 0, fine, x1 is equal to 10, right? Y equal to, is it correct? That is not possible. Why is it not possible? It is violating the other thing. Yeah, so x2 equal to 0, okay. So what happens to s2? Okay, let us put x2 equal to 0 here, s1 is equal to 0, so x1 equal to 10. If you put x1 equal to 10, s2 equal to minus 40, not allowed. You can't have a surplus of minus 40 man hours, okay, not allowed. x1 equal to 0, s2 equal to 0, x2 equal to 20 again, right? x2 equal to 20, what happens? s1 is minus 60, not allowed. So x2 equal to 0, s2 equal to 0. Is that correct? This is 12,000. This is x1 equal to 4, x2 equal to 10, correct? 4 and 10. Yeah, if you do not like the graphical method or you do not have the pen graph sheet or whatever, you can use this. This has been modified, and a very powerful technique called the simplex method has been developed based on this simplex method. It is an outgrowth of this. I demonstrated how this algorithm works for a 2 variable problem. You can extend it to several variables and you can draw a table, they call tableau or something, and then they will proceed and then they will so it is only table. So they will that is how the OR people solve the, and then you can introduce artificial variables and this thing big M method and all that, all this will be taught in operations research. So to cut a long story short, it is possible to introduce slack variables. Slack represents the difference between the left hand side and right hand side of the constraint, that represents the amount of excess material available. If it is a material constraint, S1 is the amount of wood left, S2 is the amount of labor left. In this case it so happens that S1 and S2 are both 0 for the optimal solution. That means S1 and S2 are active or binding. The labor constraint and the material constraint are both active and binding constraints in this problem, because they operate as equalities, right. you may get an optimum solution where one of these things is not binding. It is possible. It will happen if the table profit from a table is 3000 rupees and profit from a chair is only, you do not make, right, you do not make chairs at all. But where will people sit? That is a philosophical question which cannot be factored in. So if from pure economics, that is a solution, right. So we will so this is the best I could possibly teach you in 1 hour. We can I have taught it in NIT Trichy 16 years back, some 10 hours of big M method and all that. So but that is not, but the course was operations research. Can you believe that I taught operations research? Okay, so but I think you got a good idea of this. So whatever we have done for 2 variables can be extended to any number of variables, and freely downloadable programs are available. So if you encounter a multivariable problem where both the objective function and constraints are linear combinations, you can use some of the powerful techniques like this. Study the solution and then do the get the solution and do the post optimality analysis.